very much enjoyed reading the pages that were sent through. Thank you. So,
fantastic.
And it was really helpful just to get a sense of, like, you know, because sometimes you just, you know, you need the bigger context of what it is that of where it obviously placed within the film, you know. So, I'm assuming that's like getting somewhere towards the end of the first act or middle of the first act.
This is kind of the inciting incident.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's the end of the first act, I guess.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, kind of all hell breaks loose, kind of, you know. Then the mystery really starts in earnest.
Yeah, and you were saying that it was the first time that you saw the killer at that point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because I'm from the UK, I had to forgive me, but I had to read. I wasn't familiar with as familiar as a US audience with the game itself.
Oh, okay.
You know,
oh God. Okay.
Yeah. But that's, I kind of, you know, I kind of made an educated guess. Like I'm not suggesting that doesn't translate, you know, but it's like, you know, like I guess like a spin the bottle game or something like that, like a truth or dare, you know.
Yeah, closer to truth or dare. Yeah, people sit at a party and it's kind of a drinking game. It can be a drinking game. Sometimes you just use your fingers. I don't know why you would do this. Maybe if you're like 11, but and it's like, never have I ever fallen off my bike. And anyone who has puts a finger down. Never have I ever been in a three-way. Everyone who has takes a drink, depending on what your age level is and all that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And then presumably the first person with no digits left is the first loser.
Yeah, they're the winner, so to speak. Though they're also not as drunk as the people who have lived more of their life. But yeah.
And then in terms of like the genre, because the genre feels very clear, but what would be like the closest parallels or references in that genre for you?
I use as comps I Know What You Did Last Summer and Truth or Dare.
Yes. Yeah.
Truth or Dare wasn't very good, but it's the game aspect.
Yeah, of course.
And there is an element of something happened in their past.
Yeah.
So I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I can't even remember the end of that movie. I've seen it a number of times.
Right.
But like, I feel like it's kind of straightforward. You think it's this person and it is, but I think there's some twist at the end that I'm spacing on. Right. Anyway, but like, so they have a clear idea of who they think it is through I Know What You Did Last Summer, through the main thrust of the story. And in this, they don't. It's a little more like Scream in that respect.
Yeah, I was going to say Scream, yeah.
But Scream has all the humor and it's all meta, and mine doesn't have any of the humor. And so that's why I stopped comparing it to Scream, because I didn't want people to be like, well, this isn't very funny. Well, it's not supposed to be.
Yeah. And then in terms of like, just trying to think in terms of like where you know, just understanding, let me just look at these notes here. But, you know, like, so when, like and I ask about the context just because there's maybe some things that I say that make sense in the context, but feel a little quick or out of place in the read. You know what I mean?
Sure, totally.
Like for me, like the 911 call like feels very sudden in the sense that like I would feel that they would be like, maybe he would try and call his friend, you know, as being the first port of call. Like it feels quite extreme to go to the 911. And I'm just wondering if that, and again, I qualify this by saying, you know, 20 pages early, you know, preamble to this, it might read differently, you know.
Right.
That makes sense. But, you know, I wonder if that just helps build up that tension a little bit. Like the 911 is one of the very last places I can go to, you know. So it was just, I didn't, and then maybe that helps to maybe not lose sight, you know, to like, oh, we can deal with this internally in some way, you know, like within the group, you know. So I don't know, you know, maybe that was just one initial thought that I had, and the idea of sort of keeping it amongst them felt quite nice in some way, you know, that it doesn't expand out. That's not to say they couldn't still try and call, but the call doesn't go through. But and then one thing was like the scuffling in the kitchen. I was just trying to trying to imagine what that would sound like or how that would come across, like in terms of the scuffling, like as opposed to a noise or a bang somewhere in the house or something. How,
Right. To me, that was the scarecrow kind of scrabbling through the window.
I see. Right. So it's the
A
sound
bang
of,
could work as well. Any noise really could work. I just
of
went with
course.
scuffling.
Yeah.
Crash could work. Anything to direct his attention toward, oh shit, something's happening.
Yeah. Also, and again, this is what it was it came out of the again, this could be qualified by reading the full script, but I felt like as a cinematographer, I sort of felt that there was something about the onset of night that is quite daunting in a sense. So I know it starts initially at night, but like if that, for me, that kind of like time of early evening going into night could, if there was a way of maybe resetting it, then it could almost, I don't know, it could almost work in tandem with the acceleration of the drama somehow as the light's going and the night comes.
Right.
You know, that often feels quite nice. And I did, you know, but again, in the context of the bigger piece, it might not work. But
it won't in the main script. Oh, shit.
What's that?
It won't in the main script.
No.
But because of the bigger story, like you're saying. But for this, I can totally reset that because this is its own.
Yeah. So it might, just thinking visually, it might help where you're like, oh my goodness, okay, like the Wi-Fi goes out, and then and then I can't contact anyone. It's getting later and later, and
right.
I mean, I know that it's in real time in a sense. So, but you could certainly, I think a conceit of filmmaking is that could be played with,
Sure, right. Okay.
Yeah. And I really like the sort of the shock of the slippage in the beer. It reminded me of remember, you must have seen American Werewolf in London.
I did, but a really long time ago.
Yeah, there's a wonderful scene where they're first on the moors, and then the wolf is surrounding them, and they're told explicitly not to stray from the road, and they forget, and you see them straying from the road, and then they race away from the sound of this circling werewolf, and so they're getting faster and faster, and the sounds, and then he just suddenly disappears, and he slid on some like animal feces or cow shit or something, right. It was just something really jumping about it, and it felt like a good, it felt like a nice device that, where I could really imagine that you're suddenly with them and it's amping up, and then suddenly they slip out of frame and you realize what it is,
right. No, totally. Like if you're running in the dark, all of a sudden you run into a wall. You can't see the wall. You can't see the shit, or you're just panicking, and so exactly run off the cliff or something.
Yeah, but the fact that the audience in that moment it's a shock for both the character and the audience, and they're in tandem at that point, I think is really successful.
Cool. Check it out again.
Works really well. I know that you wrote it, or this is a kind of a slightly different structure based on what you're trying to achieve. But I actually think some of those FaceTime, the addition of the FaceTime and that kind of idea of connection but disconnection and not being the same is a device that works really well. I don't know if you saw during COVID, there was a horror movie that came out that they put together super quick of people doing a seance, but all via Zoom.
It was so good. I don't remember what it was called.
Wasn't it great?
It's really suspenseful and scary.
Really well done. And I just thought, oh, that's kind of like, as technology changes and things, some of that stuff coming through is, it just reminded me of how, it didn't remind me of that film necessarily, but it reminded me of how effective technology can be used in that way,
That's when someone goes to the guy goes to a girl's apartment. Is that one? I think that's all with Claire Holt. I don't know if you know who that is.
Don't know. This one was like, it was basically like because the weird thing was that the cinema was shut down, right? Cinemas were closed. So you were watching it on your TV and it looked like you were participating in a Zoom. So it was literally like 6 Zoom screens. And then they were all having a seance with each other, and one by one, something would happen in one of the screens.
Were they actors?
Yeah, but they were like, there was no makeup, and some of them may be non-actors, like they weren't well
I
known.
mean, like the characters, were the characters actors?
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Okay.
no, I don't think so. They were all just like participating in this seance, you know.
I think I've seen, I have
Yeah,
two in my head. I know
it,
what you're talking about too.
it was great, and the genius was that it was
Yeah,
like you're watching it from home, so you feel like you're on the Zoom call at the same
right,
time.
right.
It was so clever.
The Unfriended movies are quite good too. They do the same thing. It's the same concept. It's all on their computers. That's all you see.
What is it called?
Unfriended.
Oh, Unfriended. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Part two is even better,
Right.
which is unusual.
Right. Yeah, of course. um, and then but at the end of the pages, Biff gets the text, "You didn't play the game." So just what is the? I suppose I'm just again trying to understand the bigger picture. What is the intent of the killer? Like, what does he hope they will do to participate and for his own enjoyment?
He wants them to reveal their sins and their
Right.
secrets.
Right.
And they don't know what they want. This person wants them to reveal.
Yeah.
So at first, nothing, everyone's just kind of spazzing out. Andy's dead. Holy shit, but there's no real reason. There's no guarantee that this is because of this text.
Yes.
Like, we're jumping to conclusions. Like, this doesn't necessarily mean anything. So they don't end up really playing the game. Then someone else dies. Then they play the game.
Right.
Secrets do start coming out, and they get bigger and bigger, and they
Yeah.
can't figure out what this person wants.
Yeah.
And the person threatens them.
Yeah.
And one of the kids is the killer.
Yeah.
So she continues roping them into doing it more and more because
Yeah.
she's manipulating them.
I see.
And they're threatened. The killer threatens the families and stuff, so they won't go to the police.
Yeah.
Because it's the obvious thing to do. And
Cool.
both times someone goes to go to the police, they get killed.
Right. Yeah.
So people they're like, fuck this. People are dying. We're playing the game. We're dying anyway. I'm going to the police. And she's like, no, you're not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I wonder, I think it's great. I wonder, the tricky thing with these films, I suppose, is like, if you compare the structure to a trailer, like if you were to watch the trailer, I think there is an argument that when you get to the end of a trailer, you have enough pieces to know what's going on. You know what I mean? It by its very nature, it can reveal more. And
Right.
So taking a scene from there, given that the whole idea of making these films is to to reveal to a funder or to explain to a funder what's going on. I almost feel like, is there a way that it could be a slightly different scene or a later scene, or at least something within this that would allude to a little more of the intent or the sense of, do you know what I mean? Because it's like, this scene is so early on that you're really unsure as to the motivation and where this killer is going. And I'm wondering if there's anything that could be, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be in a scene from the first act or from the the inciting incident, but I'm wondering if there's something that could be put in either in an earlier text, or like, not that they all got the same text, but I don't know, like something that would just give the audience a little bit more clue as like, oh, okay, this is like the bigger picture. Does that make sense?
Yes, I don't know if I have an answer for that. But
No.
yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Like just something that if you were watching the trailer and you'd be like, oh, okay. And then you'd have like, also like trailers in the worst sense, sometimes you're like, well, why am I going to bother seeing the movie? Because
I don't watch trailers for that reason.
Right, exactly. But I wonder if there's a way of almost pulling that back, that extreme version, and I don't know what that is, but almost just like one other thing where you're like, oh, okay, I really want to see how that pans out, yeah. So I'm just trying to think exactly what that would be, but just it feels like just a little bit more of another piece of the puzzle somehow. So you don't know what the whole puzzle is, but just another layer of intrigue or something that yeah.
And to me, that was you didn't play the game. To
Yeah.
put a little pin on the end of it.
Yes.
This just happened. It's
Yeah.
not over. That
Yeah.
the first text,
That's true.
writing about meant
Yeah.
something, and you didn't pay attention. And
Yeah.
so I get what you're saying, and apparently that wasn't enough. But that's what I was thinking about that with Biff, which gives it 2 locations. But you know, it had to be done.
Yeah, but it's very straightforward locations. I mean, that could be in the same house. You'd never
Right.
know. You know.
Totally.
But yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree that does. You need that for sure. I know what it is, I think. So so when the killer is like, okay, he's basically saying like, you have to play this game and you have no choice, but you have to go along with this for me, for my own, for my own reasons, my own warped, selfish reasons, right? That's the bigger picture. So let's come back to that point of like, what is he hoping that he will entice them into? What is the game? Like, I mean, I know you've explained the game, but like what, because he approaches Andy, but then he kills him. But what is he teasing them with? Like, he's obviously being a little puppet master. What is he wanting them to, what is he wanting to push them into?
To reveal their sins.
Right.
And so she's in the end,
yeah.
The kids who get the texts are the ones who saw her, the killer, with someone who disappeared the year before.
Right.
They don't realize that they have information that could lead to this big revelation, but she wants to basically clean up loose ends.
Yeah.
So she's just kind of messing with them, like you said, like puppet master.
Yeah.
She's crazy. And she, part of her, she says this to Biff at the end, like, part of me just was like, if you would just say it, never have I ever killed someone. Of course, almost no one's killed anyone, so no one's really going to say that in a game. But if someone had just said that, I felt like I could have been free.
Yeah.
Like, but would you have admitted it? Would you have stopped? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
She's just kind of fucking with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Might just give me 1 moment. Sorry. Yes, no, absolutely. So that's the bit I feel. Is there a way of bringing some of that in, that intention of the killer? So because I think people are gonna understand the genre well enough to know what's going on in a sense. But I'm wondering if there's one element of this of what you just said that could be brought into it somehow, and I'm trying to think what that would be. But some, like, the text gets sent, and then Andy gets killed. But this kind of like just going down that road a little bit of trying to in some way illustrate this sort of puppet mastery.
What if Andy gets a text that says something like reveal your sins, or you didn't reveal your sins?
Yeah, I exactly. I think there needs to be a little bit, before Andy's demise, there needs to be a little sense of this, like yeah, a little bit more sense of the game. I think I'm missing the game.
Okay.
And the movie is going to have, inherent within the movie is going to be the sense of the game.
Right.
And that's such a big part. I kind of think if I just saw this film in this small iteration, I would that would be a gap for me. I think that I would need filling in.
Okay. And that's a super easy fix. Something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly. I just because, and I think that's what's like, you're like, oh, this is really juicy. Like, this is going to be really enjoyable to watch how this puppet master, what it is that they want and what they're being enticed into, and why they cut, And so I think more of that, a little bit more of that, rather than just the threat of somebody in the house and then dying, more of the game.
Okay. And
which
since
I'm sure, which I'm sure is in there, you know.
yeah, it totally is in the full
Yeah.
script.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm taking it up. Also, I don't know what I was gonna say. Damn it. And then Andy can also, because this way none of it, this is just for this, it's not for the bigger script,
Yeah.
obviously. But
Yeah.
still, like, so he can be, you know, FaceTime or call Andy or Biff or Johnny and be like, did you get that text?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Because they didn't. Only
Yeah.
Andy gets it.
Yes.
So when Biff gets the text the next day, we
Yeah.
didn't play the game.
Yeah.
He can also then think, I guess we won't go into this, but this is the text Andy was talking about when
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, and I think that way, rather than, because maybe that way there's the ability, rather, you know, because they're all in lockstep at the moment in these pages you sent through. So in a way, it's almost like it doesn't feel repetitive, but there's maybe missing an opportunity for one of them, you know, for them to be at different points in this process that might be more intriguing, you know, because it's like, you know, so Andy gets it and they're like, no, I did it. And then at the end, strengthening the payoff is like, oh, now Biff's got it, you know, but we don't know they will, you know. So I think staggering it in that way might help with the intrigue and help just, you know.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Great. And because it's 6 pages and I thought it was 4, I've got 2 pages to play around with, which is a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, I think also when you've made the bigger picture, it's hard sometimes to step away from it and being like, oh, I know that, but the audience doesn't at this point, you know?
Right.
And it's really hard then, I think, to go back right to the beginning and be like, okay, where was I right at the beginning? And try to put myself in that position again, you know?
Right. Do you fill in blanks without even realizing you're filling in blanks?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you know, it's good in that sense, maybe, you know, to get fresh eyes on it, because I came to it knowing nothing, you know, but, but yeah, I think, yeah, so I think that would really help. Just, yeah, knowing at the end of those 6 pages, really understanding that there's a puppet mastery at play here, and they have no choice but to go along with it, you know.
Right, and that really jacks up the tension for the audience, but also for Andy too. It builds a little bit more ding, 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 is higher.
Yeah, and then you also, exactly, and then you also know, oh, because the obvious, you would be like, oh, well, why don't they just go to the police? But then if there's enough in there to know that that's not possible, and that could be the smallest little thing, you know, then yeah, then that answers that one.
Right. Okay. This is very helpful.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very in depth, and yeah, it's exciting because this isn't a big change, which is
no,
really helpful.
no, it's all there, 100%. But it's just you know, trying to make sure that if you can get this film made in order to tell people, just trying to get all of these things across without it feeling as fragmented as a trailer, you know.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
No problem at all.
I quite liked Vox Lux.
Oh, thank you.
And Devil All the Time. Matt mentioned that before he got on. He's like, oh, it's really good. I'm like, I don't think I saw it. And I was like, wait a second. So I Googled it and I was like, oh wait, I did see that.
Like a dark gothic, dark gothic ensemble piece.
I love that. Yeah. And I loved the OA. You didn't do all the episodes, but I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
So much.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much.
It was beautiful to look at. I mean, I love the whole project, but it was beautiful to look at.
It was such a great premise. When I first read that first episode or chapter, as they call them, that you know, the idea of this girl that's blind and goes missing and then comes back with sight, and you know, it's kind of like, oh, I mean, it's a real hook. You're like, what? Yeah. You know, it's a lot to live up to that sort of initial thing, and jumping off the bridge and like, okay.
Yeah. Oh God, I got goosebumps right now. I loved it. Anyway, thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
You too. I hope we stay in touch. All right.
Yes, absolutely. Take care. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.